Well, of course, coming up Sunday night on NBC, it is Ravens Jaguars Sunday Night Football. And now returning here to GCR, one of our favorites. He is the play by play voice of Sunday Night Football. He is the great Mike Tirico. Mike, it's Glenn. It's always good to catch up, man. Thank you so much for making this for us.
Good to be back with you guys. Happy holidays, and I think it's going to be a busy month plus here for Ravens fans.
I'm thinking we might have more Mike Tirico in our lives, which is a good thing. I like the sounds of that. Mike, you just saw this team obviously a couple weeks ago,
Yeah.
and they're not perfect, right? They're flawed. They don't. It's not like they put everybody away the way they put away the Seahawks and the Lions earlier in the season. But what jumps out at you? Why do you think it is most that the Ravens have gotten to this point where they are standing alone as the number one seed in the AFC?
Well, let's take what you just said right there. I would feel about as good about the Ravens as
Mm-hmm.
any team in the league other than San Francisco right now. I really do. I'm just the basics, right? This team has held five teams this year to 10 or less. And then the ability to score over 30 has been just so, hit you across the face here. I think it's six of the last seven games. So when you have those two things going for you, you have the number one or two rushing attack, depending which number you like to look at, yards per rushing attempt or season total. Um, and then you put that with a top defense. I think you've got everything you need to be a number one seed. Now the question comes: will this passing game do it in the biggest spots, in the biggest moments, with pressure on the line against the best teams? I think I'm more encouraged than I have been going into December in the last few years about the ability to do that. So I feel really good about the Ravens. I understand, no team is perfect. I don't know what the warts are necessarily with San Francisco, but right after that, I would list Baltimore as the next team I'd feel most confident about at this point.
Mike, it's funny you bring that up because I feel like there was some angst last week. The Ravens played the Rams, and there was angst about the fact that they
Right.
had to come from behind and it went to overtime. And I wrote a column about this. I said, I kind of feel almost the opposite way. And part of the narrative, of course, we know is that unfortunately that in Lamar Jackson's career, he's won one playoff game, right? Like I
Right.
almost thought they
Right.
were well served to have had to go through that and for us to see that almost breathtaking drive that Lamar put together and those back to back, the 3rd and 17 touchdown and the unbelievable 2-point conversion, that they almost kind of need to go through a little bit more of that to prove what it is they're capable of in the playoffs.
Hey, one, you don't want to get into games like that, but if you do, you want to know you can do it, right? And we've seen
Yeah.
it at times, but we saw it in a big spot there against the Rams team. I think is getting better. I don't look at the Rams from early in the season and now and see the same team. So here's the big takeaway for me after getting ready for the Rams game on the Sunday after Thanksgiving, or the Chargers game on the Sunday after Thanksgiving, and now they're getting ready for this Sunday night against Jacksonville. The team has the ability to make more plays in the passing game on top of being a really difficult run team to stop, and the ability to throw it and threaten downfield with multiple guys. It's not, hey, here comes Bateman. Okay, he's going to run downfield, right? The ability to use all three receivers, even though you're missing that stretch of the middle of the field, the way you really loved it with Mark Andrews, and that's no disrespect to Likely, but Mark Andrews is a top of the
Yep.
food chain tight end, right? I think it takes one defender out of the box in the run game, and that allows this run game to be dominant at times. So I hear you. I understand the angst. I get all that. I just feel like there's more of a complete nature to this team than there has been coming into December. Some years it's been their health. Some years it's been their inability to throw the ball. I think all aspects and characteristics were there. The only flag for me last week was giving up 31, right? The
Sure.
Cleveland game the division games have a unique tilt and feel to them. That was the only flag to me, like, ooh, I didn't expect to see that. So other than that, that seems in good shape. I feel really good about it.
He is Mike Tirico, of course, the voice of Sunday Night Football. He's got the call for Ravens Jaguars alongside Chris Collinsworth this Sunday at 8:20 on NBC and Peacock, and he's with us here on GCR. Mike, a guy I wanted to ask you about, and you've had a lot of him over the years, is Odell Beckham. And
Uh-huh.
I, when the Ravens signed Odell Beckham, I think a lot of us said, well, this is good because if this is the last thing they needed to do to get over the hump with Lamar Jackson, his contract, even if it doesn't live up to the value of the deal, it was worth doing it. And I've
Right.
come around over the last couple of weeks and said, this might be one of the best 1 year signings the Ravens have ever made. And I know he doesn't numbers wise jump off the page, but what he's done, particularly now without having Mark Andrews on the field, as you pointed out, the reliability of Odell Beckham, the way that he has stayed on the field, the beloved nature. I've been blown away by how much his teammates respond to him and how he connects with them, despite the fact that he is a pretty major celebrity in this country. I think the Odell Beckham signing is almost on a national scale, not getting the attention it deserves as being truly an impactful move.
In many ways, I agree with you. Let's go to the reasons why. First off, the catch that Odell made a decade ago on Sunday Night Football against Dallas, that Chris said, that may be the greatest catch I've ever seen. That may have been, in some ways, as bad for Odell as it was great, because I think there's this whole level of judging, right, for that highlight moment and that greatness. I also think the reality of the NFL, whether it is your football mortality, injuries, things not working out, kind of impacted him. I'm going to tell you, Glenn, we had a visit with Odell on the Saturday before the game in L.A. They practiced. Remember, the team flew out on Friday. They practiced at UCLA. After
Yep.
practice, we visited with Odell for about 15 minutes. It was one of the, I would say, best production meetings with a player that I've had all year. We've had as a team, excuse me. You didn't get the guy who was cocky and the guy who was living that receiver demanding the ball kind of feel. He took us from the injury in SoFi in the Super Bowl to the locker room, how difficult it was, how he was having a pity party for himself, sitting in the corner like, no, I got to get back out there and watch this, how difficult it was for him knowing that his ACL was torn, knowing that he was on his way to what could have been an MVP evening, and dealing with, hey, I've got major surgery ahead, all of those emotions while you have a chance to win a Super Bowl ring. And he did.
Mm.
But he's come back, I think, humbled by that. The realities of football have knocked him out. The desire this time last year to get back in, and nobody took him back in because he wasn't ready to play. And now he's not being asked to carry the team. Now he's being asked to be a big part of a really good team. And I think he loves the role. He loves the place. Most veterans who come around to Baltimore, I'll get to this in a second, really have that connection with the place. I found it to be really good, and I think that's why his performance has continued to improve and improve and improve. And if I can just, hate to keep the ball here in my hands for too long, but if I can just say, I think that's the strength of the Ravens way right now. The Ravens way was the defense and all this stuff. The key to being a Raven and that way of building the organization now manifests itself in Kyle Van Noy and Odell Beckham Jr., veterans coming into the place and having as good a year as they would anywhere else because it's just a great fit for veteran players. Jadeveon Clowney, let's add him to that list. I think we're seeing more guys thrive late in their careers in Baltimore over the last 5 years than we have any other place in the league. And John Harbaugh gets a bunch of credit for that, and Odell's a big example why. Apologies for the long answer, but those things just kind of hit us over the head over the last couple of weeks.
Let's make two things abundantly clear. You can have the ball. You're Mike Tirico. You can have the ball for
No,
as
no,
long
no,
as you
no, no.
possibly want, right? You can
Sorry.
run, and we'll
Sorry.
call it the Mike Tirico show with Glenn Clark
No, no,
moving
no.
forward. I'm fine with that. But secondarily, and I know you're a John Harbaugh guy because of our conversations over the years, but what you just said there to me, as I'm sure you'll understand, and I try to be defensive of it because I love fans. Like I am one. This is the reason why I do what I
Yeah,
do. And
yeah,
so, like last week, there's this almost absurd moment where John Harbaugh throws a challenge flag on a play that can't even be challenged, and the Ravens lose a
right.
timeout. It was a scoring play, and there's all this angst about it. And I keep coming back to like I get it. There are sometimes puzzling or confusing
Mm-hmm.
in-game decisions, and
Yep.
but what I know from the time that I have around every player on this team is that what you just alluded to, Mike, and I'm sure you feel this every time you have a sit down with these guys. The value of John Harbaugh as the football CEO, as the
Yep.
guy who has the tone and the sense of where his guys are and where this team is. I don't know how to explain that and how much more important that is to me than the fact that, yes, I too get frustrated over puzzling decisions as a fan. Like that element of this, it's very difficult to quantify. There's no statistic we can turn to. We can't go to,
Right.
PFF and get anything from it. But that value of John Harbaugh and the way that he feels this team is something that I really think gets missed when we discuss him as a head coach.
I think he's a great head coach. I really do. For a variety of reasons. And a lot of it was the special teams time that he spent and knowing how to connect with guys in different and unique ways on both sides of the ball. A lot of it was the ability to read the room. To me, X's and O's are very, very, very important. The most important thing is the ability as a head coach to be a leader of men and a lot of alpha males in there too. And I think John does that incredibly well for a variety of reasons. One example of that is what he inherited. He inherited a player-dominated team, probably too player-dominated to sustain for a long time. But instead of trying to rebuild the building, he managed it. He figured it out. He gave people space. And guess what? Ed's gone. Ray's gone. It's the way football is. Guys move on, right? Guess what's still there? The Ravens culture. So John, in my opinion, read the room, managed it in his own way now, has kind of kept the theme going, yet gotten the place back to where the coach is the one who's letting the players have their space, letting them guide the way. But you know what, guys? Hey, let's just course correct here. This is the way we need to do things, and here's why. I admire it. I'm a fan. I'm not friends with any of these guys. I'd say acquaintances. I've known the Harbaugh family going back for years and years and years. I just think the world of John. I think he's a hell of a head coach, and I think he's a big reason that this Ravens organization, along with Ozzie and Eric DeCosta, and obviously start at the top with Steve Bisciotti, that's why there's been consistency. It's a lot of we, not me people at the top of the organization, and that permeates all the way through the castle and everybody there in the facility in Baltimore. And it shows on the field year in, year out, right there with the most competitive regular candidates to be in the playoffs every single year.
Mike, let me wrap this by bringing it back to Sunday night.
Yeah.
The Jaguars have lost a couple of games, and
Yeah.
Trevor Lawrence has been banged up. But we were talking about it on yesterday's show, that this presents an opportunity for the Ravens to prove that there is separation to me, that even a Jaguars team that's struggling a little bit, like we still know this is Trevor Lawrence. This is a very good team. Is this the chance for the Ravens to say definitively, not only are we the best team, but there is maybe a little bit of separation between us and the rest of the conference?
Well, a couple of things. One, go get the number one seed, right?
Yeah.
The Ravens are always disappointed that there aren't enough primetime home games in Baltimore, right? You've all heard that over the years, and you feel like the Ravens haven't been given the same level of national space and respect that maybe the Steelers or other teams haven't over the years. Great. Gotcha. Go get the number one seed. Make everybody come through there to get to the Super Bowl. And you got everything to do it. Secondly, with Jacksonville, you lose 2 games in 7 days after you were a contender for the number one seed and you become a hungry team. And I think you're going to find a hungry Jacksonville team on Sunday at home, not as whole as they were health-wise, and pushed to the wall here a little bit. But what are the keys to the game? Jump on this team early and have the opportunity to push on the offensive side, the chance to control the game. Let's keep it for 34, 35 minutes in time of possession, or even 31. That would be fine, right? But those are the things that you have. But right in front of this team, to your question, to the point, this team has the chance to control the AFC and take care of business Sunday night, take care of business against Miami, and maybe the week 18, the end of the season, where it's usually, oh my gosh, it's the AFC North, something crazy can happen. You can play Pittsburgh and not have to worry about it, and just be worrying about how much time do I want to play my guys because we have a bye the next week. You can
Boy,
control all of that over the next couple of weeks. San Francisco's going to be a really tough game on Christmas night, of course, right? None of these games are easy. It's the toughest schedule remaining. But if you want to start on a good note and give yourself some breathing room, go down there and get this win. That's simple.
it'd be it'd be awfully nice. I've told you before, my favorite Tiricoism, and it's such a silly one, but it was Will Hill will score from 2014. It was so perfect. I think about it when I do play-by-play. I want to be like Mike Tirico, and
uh,
I also enjoyed the goal call on Zay Flowers' celebration against the Chargers. That one also really, really good, Mike. I got to give you
well,
credit for
thank you.
that
That
too.
that that was fun. I explained to somebody the other day that with all these celebrations, it's like we're in a live game of charades in front of 20 million people. We got to figure out what's the
What are they
celebration,
doing?
identify it quickly. So that was that was
Yeah.
a blast. And as long as my friend Andres Cantor let me borrow his goal call for 8 seconds, I'm
Yeah,
happy to call him a teammate.
Zay's other celebration that night was a little bit tougher. It seemed like even the players involved didn't know exactly what was going on
it,
that
it was
one.
it was a
Uh,
slow build with the whole bouquet and the deal. It
yeah,
took a while to reveal to the end. So I'm with Lamar. I give much higher grades to the soccer than the bouquet.
you're much kinder about it than Lamar was.
There you go. Perfect.
You
Perfect.
love it. Mike Tirico, look forward to Sunday night. Of course, NBC and Peacock for Ravens Jaguars. Always appreciate you. Thank you so much for spending a couple of minutes with us.
And thank you and happy holidays to all your listeners as well.